My name is Moni Matikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So I want us to talk about what happened yesterday in the Senzo case because Sana Aibo. Yenina, what was that? Anyway, the Senzo made a trial has produced many dramatic courtroom moments. But yesterday, shame. Yesterday's ones, shame. Oh, those proceedings left many courtroom observers stunned because what on earth were we watching? A prison official from Hosimampuru Correctional Center, prison head. What is he? He said I'm the only one who is a commissioner. He's a commissioner, Gauteng commissioner, I think. And the only one who's a commissioner. He's a commissioner there for Hosmampuru. Okay, I don't know Hosmampuru and who, but he's the only commissioner there. All right. So he came to court. His name is Mr. Kosa. Yeah, is it Kosa or Kosa? I think it's Mr. Kosa. He came, and mind you, when he comes, he's the same man that Ramsipule has been trying to call for several weeks or months or whatever without him answering his calls. Yet, when Baloi called him, he answered the same time and approved to come. That was Monday. He came yesterday, which was Tuesday. Okay. Now he comes to court to respond to allegations about the treatment of the accused during the court recess. Instead of putting the matter to rest, his testimony sparked even more controversy. His evidence raised difficult questions. How can a witness make serious allegations about the accused motives while admitting that he does not personally know whether those allegations are true? That for me was one thing that stood out. He doesn't know if what he's saying is true, but he's busy accusing them. What do you mean? Okay. How can someone testify about why the accused allegedly behave a certain way without first speaking to them or verify the facts? Those questions became the focus of a discussion after the court yesterday. Now, let's unpack everything that happened for this video. We are going to unpack it one by one throughout until we come back, okay? Now, the big complaint, life inside Hosimampuru prison. For weeks, the accused have complained about conditions inside Hosimampuru prison. Among the complaints were allegations relating to lack of daily hot water for them to take a shower, poor living conditions, concerns about access to basic necessities, requests to be transferred to another correctional facility, right? These issues eventually found their way into the courtroom. The expectation was that the prison official would simply explain what happened and whether corrective measures had been taken. Instead, the testimony became far more controversial than we expected because Mugai did not just answer questions. He went in on the accused and accusing them of so many things that he can't even prove. Now, firstly, let's talk about his long answers, but few direct answers. Let's talk about that. One of the biggest criticism from us people who are watching the case was the manner in which Mr. Kosa answered questions. Many of us felt he spent long periods speaking without directly addressing the issues before the court. The key question remained straightforward. Why were the accused allegedly not receiving hot water every day despite repeated complaints? Us people that are watching felt that instead of immediately answering that question, the witness provided lengthy explanations before eventually indicating that daily water would be provided. But he moved from Gauteng, he went to Limpopo, went to Mpumalanga, went to KZN, went to Free State, went to Eastern Cape, went to Western Cape, then back to Gauteng and answered the question. That is what he did. So as critics we raised other questions when it comes to this situation. If the problem could be fixed, why did it take repeated complaints in the open court before action was taken? And why is it hard for them to resolve this? It's not like they are bringing solutions. They are just talking long explanations that don't even make sense. Now, The moment everything changed for me while I was watching, the testimony became more controversial when the prison official began discussing what he believed were the intentions of the accused. He suggested that the accused did not really want to come to court and did not want the trial to finish. That statement for me immediately attracted my attention because I was like, what do you mean? How did you get there? How did you get into that conclusion? Say, what? What are you saying now? Why? Because the reason that caught attention for me was because determining a person's intentions usually requires evidence, direct knowledge, or conversations with those individuals. Yet, according to the discussion, there, Mr. Khoza did not speak to the people, did not speak to the accused, but yet he has knowledge and answers of and allegations and accusations towards them. Yet they never spoke. He has never spoken to them. That for me was a low blow. And now, according to the discussion after court, the witness also acknowledged that he did not personally know facts relating to those allegations that he was making. That contradiction became one of the biggest talking points of the day, because what do you mean, Sana? You are going to allege things and make accusations about people, but you can't prove your allegations. What do you mean? Now, I ended up asking myself, is this man speculating or is he giving evidence? What's going on here? Because we are wasting time. Now, I'm one of the commentators that questioned whether these statements were based on evidence or merely personal opinion from him. We are arguing that, me and the people that are feeling, what do you mean, Sana? We are arguing that there is a significant difference between saying, this is what I personally observed, and saying, this is what I think they want. Those are not the same thing. And the court testimony is generally expected to be based on facts within a witness's own knowledge. That is why those remarks that he made generated debate, because, sir, what do you mean by that? Make it make sense. Now, there is this CIMEX issue. Another topic discussed during the testimony was the accused alleged desire to be transferred to BMEX. That is my understanding of the places there. From CIMEX to BMEX, that's where they want to be moved, according to him. Observers that are watching the case, I could see the comment section by YouTube channel where SABC questioned why such requests would be viewed negatively, because toilets are not working, lights are not working, water, the cold water issue is a problem. So if there is that issue, why is CIMEX not being closed until the issues that are running there are fixed? Take everyone, not just these accused, everyone who is sitting there, take them to BMEX until the issues are fixed. If those issues are not fixed, remove. In fact, a normal judge would have said, remove everyone there, because you guys are saying there are problems. So if those problems are not sorted, move everyone until you sort those problems. Move everyone who is sitting there, take them to, in fact, if everyone, he should have said, move my people. The ones that come to my courtroom, I don't want to be listening to this nonsense. I have a court to run. I cannot be not running my court because of your issues at Khosimapho. Remove them, then move them to BMEX fast, and it needs to happen today. And when they come back again, I don't want to be hearing stories of them with CIMEX. That is what a normal judge would have done, but this is Judge Rosamo Fatleng. Okay, we'll talk about that in another video. Now, they argued that a request for transfer could have several possible explanations. Without evidence from the accused themselves, it would be difficult to conclude what motivated that request. That became another point of disagreement following the witnesses' evidence, because what do you mean you can't remove them, but Bona, you are admitting that there is a problem. Now, could the defense have challenged this more? Was another question that we are asking. One of the major discussion points after court was whether additional follow-up questions might have clarified the witness's evidence, because there was a lot of allegations that he was making that are not making sense. One of the other issues, how did he get to the point? How did he get to the point that they want to be moved? They don't want the case to be finished. They don't want to come to court because they are prolonging the case. How did he get into those things? What facts support the belief that the accused want to delay the trial? he must prove that. Did the witness personally speak to any of the accused about their intentions? What was this conclusion based on documented evidence or personal assumptions? What investigation was done before making those statements under oath? These are the types of questions that often help distinguish factual evidence from opinion, because Ibrazo was just hallucinating there, because I don't understand. The reason this, for me, this testimony is very important because one day we are going to use it. It will be used against this man. While one day this testimony will be used against him, and he does not understand that. I don't think he understands that. Although the prison official is not a witness on the murder trial itself, his testimony touches on the treatment of the accused while awaiting trial. How the court evaluates that evidence could influence the credibility attached to parts of his testimony regarding prison conditions. Ultimately, it will be part of the court to decide. It will be for the court to decide what weight, and it will be part of evidence that the court decides to use, if any should be given to his evidence. Okay. So now, yesterday's proceedings demonstrated how quickly a witness' credibility can become a subject of debate. Supporters of the witness may argue that he was simply explaining the prison position. As people that are critiquing them, us as critics, we will argue that some of his comments appeared speculative and went beyond facts that he personally established. As the Senzo Meyiwa trial continues, I believe every witness, every statement, and every contradiction is likely to receive close scrutiny from both the court and the public. Now, the final decision on the credibility and significance of his evidence, Mr. Khoza, rests with the court after considering all the evidence presented. While if today Judge Ratha decides whatever, this has nothing to do with the case, fine. And also, if the proceedings of yesterday are any indication, the debate surrounding them, surrounding this trial, is far from over. Because Sana, what do you mean we have people? And now they will make you question: how did you become a real commissioner? How do you become an area commissioner? And you are thinking like that. Grade R thinking. So, guys, what do you think? Did the prison official provide convincing answers, or did his testimony raise more questions than it answered? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comment section below. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next video. Bye-bye.